Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. It's Jason by My Music. I wanted to make a quick video tonight showing you how to make a practice template in your DAW of choice. I'm using Logic, Pro Tools Logic Studio One. I use Luna as well. Luna is really great, but any DAW that you're using, you can accomplish this in. The purpose of this is to be able to practice too. I've practiced guitar this way for years, and what we're going to do is we're going to put roots and fifths on the keyboard as our tonal center for each key. So we're going to go through the circle of fourths or fifths, however you want to do it. I'm going to go through fourths. So I'll be going C to F to B flat to E flat, A flat, D flat around the circle. I'll have a couple measures of each chord, and then it will go to the next chord. What this is going to do is forcing me to change keys, so I have to instantly go to that next key on the guitar, find that next scale that whatever I happen to be playing in. If I'm playing major pentatonics, for instance, I got to jump to that next shape in the correct key, right? You get what I'm saying? So there are multiple ways we can do this. I've got an instance of Easy Drummer loaded. You can also use the Logic Drummer is great. You can use, honestly, you can use the click track, which I have before for a long time, but that just gets a little monotonous, that click over and over. So I'll switch it up. I'll put a drum groove in one time. I'll use the kick drum, as quarter notes one time. I'll use the stick. Just the snare, whatever. You can switch it up and keeps things interesting. So yeah, there's Easy Drummer there, and then I have this V3 piano from Arturia. Arturia is super awesome. Check them out. They make a lot of really great keyboard virtual instruments. So yeah, here's this one. I have my little MIDI keyboard here. You could also use Logic's piano and drums. Whatever DAW you're using usually comes with some instruments. Those are great for our purposes. Those will get the job done. So there are a few different ways to do this. I'm going to open the drums and just show you what we got. So here's the kick. I also have a pad on my MIDI controller that I can trigger the kick with. So I might use this sound. I might use the snare. I may go to my grooves and just find I've got like a standard, a straight 4 on the floor, something like that, right? I could drop that into the timeline and use this. That personally for me is a little busy. I want to focus on the harmony, not so much the rhythm and all that craziness going on. So that's why I'll use straight quarter notes, right? Completely up to you. Experiment, play around with it. You could use different feels. You could use triplets. You could do, eighth notes, whatever kind of locks you in best. So what I'll do is I'll just demonstrate here real quick. I'll record just a measure of the kick. There's the kick. There's the snare. There's the stick. So let's do a measure of the kick here on quarter notes. Right there. If that's a little sloppy and out of time, you can quantize that. For our purposes, I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm just going to repeat this now. Command R is the key command to repeat a measure. So now I have, I'll do even more than that because like I said, I'll just select all these and repeat them just to make sure we got plenty of space. Now what I'm going to want to do is select that, and I'm going to join regions. So the reason that we're doing that, we're using MIDI here, these MIDI drums. This is what's in this timeline here. Each of these little events is a quarter note, right? We're going way down to measure 51. That will be plenty for us. But we can globally control our tempo here, right? And when we do, the MIDI is going to react to that. So I'm going to turn the click on just so you can hear it. So you hear how the kick drum is right along with the click track. I'm a little off, right? It's not completely perfectly quantized. That doesn't bother me. I like a little bit of loosey-goosey feel. If it did bother you and you wanted it exactly on the grid, you can select the region, right click and go down to quantize, and then you could quantize, you know, quarter notes, eighth notes, whatever you wanted to do. So there's my drums. It's as simple as that. I can delete this click now, and I got this guy. So that's what I've chosen for this particular track, just to demonstrate. I got a kick drum, right? So moving on, let's go to the keyboard and I'll show you what we're doing harmonically now. So I'm going to start with C, and I'm just playing roots and fifths. I'm not playing a third. Here's C, E, G, root, third, fifth. The reason I'm leaving this third out and I'm just playing roots and fifths, a power chord, we want to leave the third out of the equation. The third is the note that implies major or minor tonality, right? So if we're only playing against a root and a fifth, a power chord, I can play major or minor over this. What I'm going to do is cycle through 2 bars of each of these chords. And I mentioned the circle of fourths earlier, the circle of fifths. If you're not familiar, this is the circle of fourths and fifths. Fourths go counterclockwise. So we start up here on C. You can start anywhere, but I'm starting for our purposes on C. The fourth of C is F. The fourth of F is B flat. The fourth of B flat is E flat. It just goes right around the circle like so, right? If I want fifths, I'm going to go clockwise. So the fifth of C is G. The fifth of G is D. The fifth of D is A, and so on. These are the relative minors in here. So A minor is the relative minor of C, E minor to G, B minor is relative to D major, F sharp minor is relative to A major, etc. That's what these guys are for. So just so you understand, when I say circle of fourths, circle of fifths, that's a great practice tool because it ensures that you're hitting every key. That's how I learned at music school. We took every new thing we learned, we took it through the circle over and over. Fourths and fifths. Still holds. So I'm going to play, like I said, just roots and fifths, and I'll talk as I go here. I'm just going to play a few, and then I'll finish it up just for the sake of time. So we're starting with C. So I'm playing C and G. Okay, that's our root and our fifth. Now I'm going to F. Now B flat. Now E flat. Get it? And so on. So I'm going to finish this up and I'll be back and we'll keep talking about it. All right, guys, so we're back. I went ahead and played out the rest of the chords in the circle here. So I've gone C all the way through G. So this is our final product. 2 measures of C, 2 measures of F, F, to B flat. Okay? You get the idea, right around the circle, E flat. Now, the reason that I use MIDI instruments on this is I can now adjust the global tempo up here, and the MIDI will react accordingly. See how it slows everything down? If I had just maybe like played these chords in on acoustic guitar, like a mic'd acoustic guitar, I'm kind of stuck with that tempo that I played at, right? There is, you know, flex time and some various tools we can use to an extent to fix that kind of stuff, but it's just easiest. MIDI is so editable. It's just easiest to use MIDI, and then we can fly around if we want to increase the tempo way up to, say, 145. We can do that, right? So our rhythm track and our harmony track reacts accordingly. Okay, so we can practice faster, slower. I'm going to go back to 120, which is the default tempo. Say that this was a little long, 2 measures was long. You say, well, I want to keep it at this tempo, but I only want to, you know, I want the key to change every measure. So in that instance, you could select these regions, Command T to cut them, skip a measure, Command T, and then you could just select that part that you cut out, delete it, drag everything this way, and now we're changing every measure. Okay, got it. I'm going to go ahead and erase those moves because I want to keep it like it is. But yeah, that's all there is to it. Now we have a cool practice template here. You can use any instrument you want. You could practice bass against these changes, you know, major or minor, like I said before, because we're only using roots and fifths. So if you're learning new scales, you're learning arpeggios, you're learning, you know, pentatonic scales for the first time, this is a really handy tool because it gets you thinking on your feet and like, oh, now I'm in a different chord, I need to change. The only thing I did not note on here, which I could, you might want to note the key that you're changing to until this becomes just so ingrained in you and you know your way through the fourths. You know, if you're in B flat, you know E flat's coming next, and A flat, D flat. So that really forces you to think on your toes though. If you just hear the change, you have to immediately, where was I? Which informs where am I going now, and you got to get there. So if you're not quite there to where you know what change is coming next, I'll create a MIDI region and I would just name it C. I would probably color it a different color too. I would name it for the chord, obviously. We know this is C right off the bat. 2 measures, so I would drag this and I'd pull it out here. Then I would double click again, create MIDI region. I'd go to name and color. I would rename it F. We know that's the next chord. Then I'd pull up the colors again. I might want to color it the same, or if it's going to be distracting, I might do like every other, I might change to a different color, right? So if you're in this zone here, if you're in C and you're in this area, this is a nice visual. It catches your eye when you come up on the next one here and we see that we're in F. So yeah, I would just name each change accordingly, create a MIDI region, click on name and color, I'd rename it. This is going to be B flat. I'm stretching it out 2 bars and then I'm going to color it. So I would pick 2 colors and kind of go back and forth between them. So that's a good visual up here if you kind of get lost, you're not sure where you are. You can just look up. As long as the playhead is moving with in Logic, that's this guy here, to move with the playhead. Otherwise it'll go off the screen, you'll lose the playhead. And you hear that change, and now we know we're in B flat. If you forgot where am I, you could grab that B flat real quick because you're looking at it right there. So I'm going to hook my guitar up and walk you guys through this and show you how this is actually put to use. Okay, cool. I'll be back. All right, guys, we're back. I got my guitar into the session here. We're going to talk about how to actually use this now that we got it made. So a few different things that I might use this for, especially as a beginner. I would definitely use it when I'm learning chords. Back when I went to school years ago, we learned the cage system, which is moving open position chords around the neck, right? You got your C form that looks like this. You got your A form that looks like this. You got your E that looks like this when we move it, etc. I'm going to be making lessons about that. I just got into the power chord like a week ago, which is the root and the fifth out of this shape, rooted on the E string, the low E here. So one really helpful thing if you're learning that, you could go through the circle here, starting on C. You have to understand first, you got to know your notes, and you have to understand where we root that chord. In order to produce a C chord, we need to root that on the note C with our first finger if we're making this shape or this shape. But the root and the fifth out of this chord is just these first 2 notes. So if I'm playing straight quarter notes at this tempo of 81, so we're going to be here, right? There's our tempo. So if I'm learning a new chord, I would just play on the quarter note for 2 measures. F. B flat's coming up. There's B flat, 6th fret. We're rooting our first finger on the root note. E flat. I can't play E flat that way because I'm off the fretboard. I got to play it up here. A flat. There's the note A flat under my first finger. D flat. D flat C sharp is here. 9th fret. G flat F sharp 2nd fret. That makes sense? B is on the 7th fret. E is coming up next. I got to play it on the 12th fret. E up here. I'm off the fretboard if I try to go that way. A. Next is D. That's 10th fret. I know that note is D on the 10th fret under my first finger. G is 3rd fret. Then we're back to C, right? So what I would do in order to go back is you could loop. Let me show you real quick. You probably figured this out, but I would just loop this like so. And once we go off the, once we get to the end of the progression of G, it will bounce back to C and it'll start over. So that's one way of using it for chords. If I'm learning my E form major chord, that chord, which is where this perfect fifth is out of, this power chord, I would take that through the circle like so. Quarter notes again, C. Next is F, 1st fret. B flat, 6th fret. E flat coming up, 11th fret. Remember, we can't go past E that way. E flat would be one further that way, but we're off the fingerboard then, the fretboard. So you get the idea. I take that chord through the circle of fourths or fifths, whichever way you did it. Once I'm feeling comfortable on quarter notes with those chords, I might start to funk it up. Maybe I want to, you know, play that C. There's an F. B flat. Whatever rhythm, right? E flat. A flat's next. D flat. G flat. B, right? Get what I'm saying? The goal eventually is to learn all 5 of those caged shapes. The C form, the A form, the G, the E, and the D. So then what I would do, once I got those shapes down, I would do position playing. I would pick a zone and I would say I'm not going to venture outside of these 4 or 5 frets. So that might look like this. Starting on C, I'll play the E form C chord to start with, so it looks like this. F is coming up, right? There's F right above it. That's A form, F major, B flat. There's a B flat. That's the D form. E flat's coming up. I play the G form of the E flat. A flat major. There's an A flat right there. C form. C shape. D flat. There's my E form, D flat again. G flat, F sharp, right above it. B is next, right? There's B. E. G form, E. If that doesn't make sense, it will once you learn about the cage system and what these chords look like when we're moving them around. That's a very handy exercise to do through the circle with a template, a practice project like this, because you're hearing how that sounds against the root in the fifth, and you're just getting a lot of great practice at switching to those shapes really quickly. When you get comfortable, then you want to increase the tempo. Let's put that up to 109. Now we're here. to B flat, to E flat. Here's an E flat down here. Jump around, A flat, D flat. Okay, get what I'm saying? So I hope that gives you some ideas, guys, on how you can use this. Any instrument you play is, you know, fair game. Bass, piano. I primarily use it for guitar, but I'm also trying to get my piano going again. So I do play through this with scales and chords and, you know, roots on my left hand, roots and fifths and those kind of things. So but just to show you an example of kind of, you know, practicing improvising over it. I'll just be playing some major pentatonics and switching keys as the keys go by so you get an idea of what we're doing here. So we're going to start with C, and then we'll go through the four: C, F, B flat, E flat, A flat, and on, okay? There's the F. B flat. E flat. A flat. D flat. And on, okay? I'm really accentuating those root notes so you can hear when that key changes. That's not really how we want to solo, you know, that sounds a little stiff and kind of like you're playing an exercise, right? But that's the idea, though, is just follow the changes and respond accordingly. Find the, you know, the next pentatonic or whatever you're practicing closest to the hand position you're at, and do this in different zones. I was up here, I started in the E form major pentatonic, and then went to the A form F. I could also have started here with C in the open position. And then F. B flat. Again, this is just kind of noodly gibberish, but I'm trying to get through like that we're changing with each different chord change, okay? So I hope that you got something out of that, guys. You know, comment with any questions you have. I'm happy to answer anything, and I hope this helps. All right, see you next time. Thank you.